This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the J-Cast. I'm John Abraham, joined by Damon McDonald. I was saying to you off the air, Damon, things in Thailand are getting a little bit better. My park is open again, the restaurants are opening up, and hair salons and stuff with the social distancing caveats, but little encouraging signs that we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is making it through just fine. Hope everyone is well and healthy and again, washing your hands and your feet and your butthole.
Cock and balls.
Cock and balls. Wash everything.
Yeah, sorry, that's one thing. Well, you've reminded me, Damon. I feel like I've misled some people when I talk about my living in a hotel. It's not, it's not a typical hotel room, is it? It's pretty big. I've got like a balcony, kitchen, washing machine. It's large as far as hotel rooms go. The reason I bring this up is because the bathroom has one of those electronic toilet gimmicks, like the Japanese ones, with the rear cleaning and everything. So don't worry, listeners. My bumhole is absolutely immaculate. It's getting well taken care of in this hotel. So just to put your mind at ease, I'm sure some of you were wondering.
We are. It was heavy on our minds. I would not leave that room for hours. I would that water bill would be fucking
heated toilet seat. I got everything.
No, what? Oh, yeah, that would be.
When I feel a shit coming, I'm like rubbing my hands together with glue. I'm like, yes, I can't wait.
Joel popping laxatives. Just come on, keep it flowing. Oh yeah,
like, Joel, this is your 12th poo of the day. What's going on in there? Nothing, I'm just having a wank.
Right. I would just go, at that point, I would just flip the script and be like, I'm going to go jerk off. What? Yeah. Okay, at least you're not pooping again.
Don't tell her about the secret pooing.
Right. Well, listen, it sounds like you're living in the lap of luxury over there.
Right, and great content. 2 minutes in, we've talked masturbation, we talked shitting. Anything else we've got to tick off the list?
I mean, we're just knocking them down. We're knocking them down. I wake up this morning. I wake up every day. Singing Suede now. Speaking of Suede, boy, of all the luck, right? Of all the fucking luck. They didn't cancel it yet, but I'll tell you, I'm just waiting for that fucking hammer to fall. I didn't book the trip, though. That's the good news. I didn't book the actual flight and hotel. Cheryl was very smart in that. She had reservations from the jump. Like, she had reservations from the jump. And she held off. We held off. She would dance around and fucking not book.
Does she know something? Yeah. Is she in the know?
No, unfortunately.
Having any secret trips to Wuhan?
No, I hope not. No. She is just, I don't know, like it's a hypersensitivity to these kind of things. So know what I was thinking of, and this might be a weird thought, and I'm sorry if I freak some fucking people out. But I was thinking about this. I might as well just talk about this. But let's finish the thought with Suede. Suede, I don't know if it's happening, but I just think it's fucking amazing that I finally get tickets to see the band I've never seen before, one of my favorites of all time, and it's now on the thinnest of thin ice. That being said, they're talking about how this virus is actually later. First documented cases are actually later than January, or earlier than January, should I say, like December. And the first thought in my mind was, man, I was sitting in that fucking Tokyo Dome 2 nights. Right? 2 fucking nights. I wonder what the spread was at the Tokyo Dome. If there was a spread. You know what I mean? Like that was like my first thought. Like, man, that was. And by the end of it, I got sick. I told you, I was sick at the end, and I didn't have necessarily the exact symptoms of COVID, but I was fucking knocked out. I was really hurting that last night. Like that could have easily been stay in bed, but I gutted it out, Joel, just to get my last piece of meat skewer. It's a grilled meat. We took a train to Shibuya just to get that meat. A delicious treat. But I was sick. It was in my ear and fevery, and I didn't feel great. I just wonder, like, is that? Do you think about that at all?
No, not really. I mean, it's just not going to affect things either way, is it?
Right, that's a good point.
I've got the same kind of paranoia. Like every time I sneeze, I'm like, oh, it's the thing. But I think everyone goes through that. But I don't do the retrospective. Maybe that illness I got that day was COVID, because it probably wasn't. If you didn't get the symptoms, probably wasn't. So you're good.
My toe hurts now, though. I might have it. I might have it right now.
I've got like my sort of respiratory system. I've got asthma, and it seems that like every third day I've got a cold or allergies or something, and I've got a runny nose and I'm sneezing and I'm all bunged up. And every time I start sneezing, Mally's like giving me dirty looks, like I'm doing it on purpose. Especially, like, God forbid, if we're out, like we go to the shops or something, and I sneeze, she looks at me like I've just taken a shit on the floor. So, yeah, I do suffer from the same, like, second guessing myself to an extent.
Yeah. Like, I was getting back to the original. But Cheryl, she she's hypersensitive to this kind of stuff, and as much as I hate storms, she hates this kind of stuff. And it's not like anybody likes this kind of stuff, but you get my point. You get my drift. But she's like that. She'll start clearing her throat, and then constantly clearing her throat. And I had to literally walk out of my office and walk to where she's doing her work, because I can hear her. And I'm like, you're right. Right? Like, I'm just kind of knock her back into reality of, you don't have anything. You don't have to keep clearing your throat. So. Usually happens when I enter a room, clearing her throat. Probably bring out some evil twitch in her. For fuck's sake. Hey, so anyway, Joel, I wake up this morning. I did check my phone. I saw some sad news. You want to lead off with that, or you got a little something sunshinier that we can talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk some music, Damon, first. Specifically about the hot new single from Escape the Box, Grey. Now, this might be a controversial, hot, sizzling take from Music Joel, but I have a feeling that this single is more of a Joel song than a Damon song, because when I first started listening to it, I heard the little preview and I was like, oh, to check this out. Went on, I bought it on iTunes, very reasonably priced. I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't very much at all. Definitely worth it. And I started listening to it, and it reminded me of the kind of stuff that I used to listen to, like when I was in my late teens, my early 20s. I was having a little chat with editor Dan about it, and I could definitely hear some musical influences in there. Groups like Taking Back Sunday, Funeral for a Friend, I can definitely hear tones of that in this latest single, Grey. So I know editor Dan's a big fan of those, so maybe subconsciously there was a bit of musical influencing going on. But I really like this song, and I think I probably enjoyed it more than you did, because it's not really a Damon style song, is it?
It's not. No, it's not. But it's kind of like the previous work that they did was, I don't know, kind of like, more in line with that Libertines kind of sound. And this, I could definitely see where like the bands that you mentioned, the kind of like that 90s. Would that be emo? Would you consider those bands emo?
Yeah, okay. It would. Okay. I was definitely, because I was desperate to be part of the scene, but one, I was too fat, and two, I've got like quite curly, wavy hair, so I couldn't do the fringe. So I was, desperately trying to grow my hair out, the little man straighteners, try and get fringe going, but it just never happened for me. So I was just sort of, that Russell Crowe gif of him from Les Miserables, where he's sort of peering through the window. That was me with the emo scene in the mid 2000s.
That's me, but see, here's the thing: that right around that time is when you are in, at least me and people my age, are in that real flux mode of, oh, the bands I like are now old, right? And the bands that I like are now no longer as relevant as they once were, and this scene has now taken that over. So I don't know if, and it's usually not out of spite, people, that this happens, but it's just kind of like you kind of, I don't want to say rebel, but you hold on to what is yours because you feel like it's slipping away a little bit. Maybe if that makes sense. So I really wasn't into a lot of the emo scene, and those bands. Like, is Fall Out Boy one of those bands?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so.
Okay. And they're a good band, but it's just not like a thing that I would go to, right? Just because, again, probably more for that reason more than anything else. And you're not going to find bands that sound like the bands. Like, now I can find a lot of bands that sound like they have a very influenced by the music that I used to listen to. Fucking Drab Majesty and DMAs and there's a new band called Sports Team in London that sound just right up my fucking alley. But getting back, Escape the Box Gray. With that being said, I'm a huge fan of this, just because it sounds like, as weird as it sounds like a fucking song you would hear on the radio. Like, it does sound like a song that you would be like, boop, and here's Escape the Box Gray. And to me, I'm more proud of that fact than anything else. Like, this is something that people, like, I just feel like this could be successful in the sense of people can connect with it. And you just mentioned exactly why. You can find this anywhere. I listen to it all the time on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, it's there. Search Escape the Box. I'm sure it's on Apple Play or Google Play. Is it?
I'll tell you exactly. You can go to ditto.fm/Gray. So that's Gray with an E /Gray-Escape-the-box, and you can find all the platforms it's on. But I'm definitely giving it 2 thumbs up. This is the kind of music that I like. So listeners, go check it out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. I mean, support Dan. He is an awesome dude, and the band are great, and they're so helpful to us. And over and above that, this is a fucking great band. They say they're just tight and they're creative, and I couldn't be more proud, especially for the single. So give it a listen. Let us know what you think. Let Dan know what you think, and just keep hitting that repeat button. Help them out. It's they could use all the help you can get.
If we put down our defenses, everything will be so great. Oh, it will be so great. If we drown out the voices, I'm sure that we will be okay. If we put down our defenses, everything won't be so
Okay, so the shit news is, in response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, New Japan has arrived at the decision to cancel all events on the Best of the Super Juniors 27 tour, which was scheduled between May 12th and June 6th. I don't know, what more can you say at this point? It's like, yeah, another event's been cancelled. Okay, let's move on. I have nothing to say about it. I'm disappointed. I was looking forward to the Best of the Super Juniors. I do have a sneaking feeling that El Phantasmo might have won the whole thing. So if you're not a fan of his, then maybe this is a blessing in disguise for you. But yeah, no Best of Super Juniors. Hopefully it's not cancelled. Hopefully it's postponed. I would love to see it if they come back later in the year. Maybe slot it into World Tag League spot, something like that. But we're not getting it for now.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be the guy that's like, well, we kind of knew this was going to happen, but we kind of knew this was going to happen. I think it's what is. It's kind of like when you break up with a girlfriend or boyfriend, and you know it's happening, but then you finally get that letter, and you're like, or that email, that text, and you're like, okay, that's.
Or like you'd already broken up, but you'd had a holiday booked together,
Right.
and she hadn't mentioned it, and you thought, oh, maybe she'll still go on this with me, and we can sort of get back together. We can rekindle the spark, and then she's just messaged to confirm cancellation of the holiday, and you're like, oh.
Right. Wow, that was heartbreaking, Joel. Has this happened to you
It's a
before?
weirdly specific scenario.
What was her name?
Nothing like that's happened to me. Don't worry about that.
No? Okay. Nothing we got to talk about off air, or you're good? Okay.
I once had two trips to Penzance within the space.
Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Because I talked right over you. I'm sorry. Repeat that, please.
I once, during the space of a 2-week Christmas holiday, I had 2 trips to Penzance to visit a girlfriend at the time, which I regret doing because there's probably 2 trips too many. But aside from that, no, nothing like that.
No. What? All right. So let's do this. Can we share? Let's share something personal on the air. What was your worst breakup story?
My relationship history is quite limited. So before Mali, I only had 2 girlfriends before that. So one was this girl, and I was dating her for it was just a couple of months. She was mental. And then another girl after that who I was seeing for about 18 months. So I've only got 2 breakups to judge it against. I've had more sort of traumatic experiences with the nearlies than actual relationships I was in that went bad. I mean, the first one, even though I can sit here and say, yeah, I dodged a bullet and she had a lot of issues, it was still quite traumatic at the time because your first relationship ending is always difficult, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah, I was really cut up over that one, even though I can look back on it and laugh and think, oh my god, what was I even doing with someone like that? But,
right.
At the time, when you're dating them, you're like, yes, I've nailed it first time. I found the perfect girl. This is it. This is going to last forever. And then when it goes tits up, you're just kind of shell shocked. Really, you're like, oh my god, what happened? Oh, I want it to go back the way it was.
Yep. So I'm kind of on the fence right now to share my my worst breakup story because it has a lot to do with pro wrestling. It has.
Okay, you definitely have to share it now. You cannot give me that caveat and hold it back. So let's hear it.
It has a lot to do with pro wrestling. Oh, Christ. Can't believe we're doing this. Okay.
You weren't doing wrestling moves, were you?
What's that?
You weren't doing wrestling moves, were you? You didn't do something like Ibushi and wake her up with a Phoenix Splash or something.
No. All right, it's a little bit of a long story, but I'm gonna share it with you here.
Here's a story from Uncle Damon. Here's a story from some point in his life. Here's a story from Uncle Damon, and it may be about wrestling, or perhaps include his wife.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So in the early 90s, I was seeing a young lady, and she was a friend of a friend of my best friend's, a girl that he was seeing. So, and they came over my apartment, and we hung out, drank, blah, 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 and wound up hooking up, and away we went. So this was at least a year into this relationship, at least a year. I was going to wrestling all the time, but I made the mistake of taking her to pro wrestling. And one of the things we went to, it was a local show. It was actually a Dennis Carluzzo NWA show. And it was, actually, it was Chris Benoit versus Sabu. It was the main event. So all of us were like, oh my God, this is going to be fucking amazing. So we kind of knew the Dennis from back then. Every once in a while, we would, we were local, so we would go to all the shows and we would see him all the time. So anyway, we were talking to him. He's like, hey, after the show, go to this restaurant, Adelphia's. That's where everybody's going to hang out. You come with us. We were like, all right, cool, great. So I bring her to this show. And then afterwards, we go back to Adelphia's. And we're all just hanging out, blah, 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 drinking, trying to talk to wrestlers and shit. And it was me and my friend, two of my friends were talking with Chris Benoit. And we were talking about, how to get into business and how to do this and how to do that. But this whole time, she's nowhere to be found. Like, I don't even know where she's at. Right? And I finally see, this probably an hour. I'm not kidding you. Probably an hour. In the corner, just, sitting, her and Sabu. Right? And I'm like, okay. What possibly could they be talking about? But I didn't think anything of it. Blah, 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 blah. But this went on for a little bit. So it's late. It's like they're ready. They're closing the restaurant and the bar. And everybody's leaving. I was like, no. It had to be a little bit early because people were still there. And the line was. So I was like, all right, we got to get ready to go because I got to, I don't even know what the fuck I had to do, but I had to do something. So get ready to leave, boom, boom, boom. And I go to her and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. She goes, I'm going to stay. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I'm going to stay. You're going to stay. So I was like, you do whatever the fuck you want to do, but know that if you stay, this is not going to go further, right? So she stays. And I went home, went back to my place. And she rolls in like around 4 or 5. And I'm like, okay. All right. Okay. Nice. So we go. So we stayed together at that point. But then we. Do I have it mixed up? I might have it mixed up. No, I'm right. That happened. Anyway, she stayed 4 o'clock. Blah 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 blah. Like 2 weeks later, like it's like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or some nonsense like that. And she's on the phone. I could hear her on the phone. I'm like, I wake up. I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to? And it was him. And then I was like, you know what? This probably isn't going to work and all. Blah 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 blah. So she moved out. We were living together. Moved out, and she, like randomly, she goes, "I'm going to spend the summer in Michigan." I'm like, "Oh, wow! You really like Michigan all of a sudden, do you?" That's where you live. Right.
So back up. Do you remind me again? How long had you been together with this lady?
Probably a little over a year. A little over a year. We lived together. And then that was it. Then like I was like, well, that's it. Just get your shit and go. I mean, I'm not gonna just fucking get out. So that summer. I just fucking went into a downward spiral and just you name it. And I really hated wrestling at that point because I was like, why would anybody listen, I don't care if you fucking hook up with my friend. I don't care if you hook up with fucking whoever. But it's the one thing that I really enjoy in life, and you're going to fucking do that. You know what I mean? I was just like, that, I don't know. That left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, So I didn't really watch wrestling for a long time, like a decent period, just because I was like, what the fuck am I going to watch? And trust me, this was right when he was like super red hot. He was like at the peak of his ECW craziness, all that. He wasn't he was like I believe the next show he was wrestling Cactus Jack. He was wrestling Mick Foley in like a barbed wire match. It was like a dream ECW match. It was like the next show this was going to happen. So after the summer, I don't know I really don't know what happened, but I hear a knock at my apartment door, and I just kind of half hung over, half whatever, opened the door, and she's standing there in the fucking doorway, and she has my mail in her hand. And she's like, I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. How are you? Blah, blah. I'm like, I'm good. Shut the door. right? But then she kept coming back and kept coming back. And then we tried it one more time, and I was just like, you know what? Nope, it's not happening. But that led me to Cheryl. So that's my worst breakup story. Thank you, everyone.
It's a great story, though. I know it must have been very traumatic at the time. Like,
it was horrible.
How do you feel when you look back on it now? Did it still hurt?
Like I haven't heard from her. My friend has. No, I mean, like I just think. Here's what I hated. I didn't even hate the fact that it was, that it was over. You know, if it wanted to be over, it was over. That's okay, great. I think the biggest two problems I had was it was something that, like, literally I had pro wrestling. You know, that was, well, I wasn't even a huge hockey guy as much anymore. I don't know. I felt like that was, I don't know. It just felt like of all things, you fucking wanted to do that. And then I guess the other thing was just not the actual kind of under the curtain, behind the curtain kind of stuff. The scheming and planning to do something. If you just want to do something, just do it. But don't fucking, try and plan shit. You know what I mean? That drove that to this day is just like okay. I still have a little trouble getting over that, but. I mean, no, it is what it is. But it is one of those, like that one piece of pie that helps build who I am. Right? That whole time period was a rock bottom in so many fashions. But again, the light at the end of the tunnel. I get to spend time with my now wife, who I've been together for 20 years. So, but yeah. That's my Sabu story.
So no Sabu matches for the Super Shake-House Classic Watch. Maybe get some T-shirts, like Sabu Stole My Girlfriend T-shirts. Get them up with PWT.
No, I really don't, and I don't want that at all. But yeah, that was it. That's the infamous story. So why not? We don't have a lot of content, right? We don't have a lot of. Oh, wait, and I forgot this, the fucking cherry on top. My first pro wrestling match that we worked was on a Dennis Carluzzo show that he headlined against Devon Storm. And I'll never fucking forget, dude. I walk into the dressing room with my bag and my friend. And again, it's our first show, so we're a little nervous to begin with. And I open the door, and the first person I see is him. And I look him right in the eye, and he knows who I am. And he knows who I am because I was a fan of his. He knows who I am. And I look right at him, and he looked right at me. And he do the old guy head nod. Hey, what's up? Gave me one of them. And that was it. The first show, he's sitting there. And I knew he was going to be there, but I was just like, I'm not letting this stop me from doing what I do.
Well, thanks for sharing that story, because otherwise we'd be talking about Ibushi doing wrestling moves on his phone. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, there's not really that much to talk about. We've got WWE erasing Roman Reigns from video packages. So
yeah,
obviously my jumping logic is that he's on his way to New Japan too. What do you think of that? Roman in New Japan? I'd be up for that. I think he'd be brilliant.
I would be, but didn't WWE tweet out something like, watch all these Roman Reigns matches, your favorite Roman Reigns matches, just recently, right?
You say that like there's any sort of cohesion between decision making in various branches of that company.
That's true too. That's a good point. Would I take Roman Reigns? I would. I actually would. I mean,
he should be the leader of Bullet Club. No disrespect to Jay White, but can you imagine Roman Reigns leading a faction with, Gorillas of Destiny and Bad Luck Fale? That would kick ass. That would be amazing.
I think it would be. I really wouldn't have a problem with that. I know some people are swallowing down vomit right now, but
He's good. He's a good wrestler.
He's not
good.
awful.
Go back. Watch the main event of WrestleMania 31, the first Lesnar match. It was awesome.
Look, he'd have to kick it into high gear and find a level that he hasn't reached. Let's put it that way. For to be considered a New Japan Pro Wrestling main eventer and not get blasted on this fucking podcast.
Are you suggesting that wrestlers are not performing at the peak of their powers in WWE? You mean to say that Ricochet, who lost to Brendan Vink and Shane Thorne in 4 minutes and 30 seconds this week, is not performing as well as he was in New Japan?
But he's happy, Joel. That's all that matters.
He's putting smiles on faces.
Smiles on faces. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? Yeah, that's kind of, I think that's been, there is a theme of this podcast. It is, boy, I wish this guy could get out of this promotion so that they could go and spread their wings and fly.
Did you ever play Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yes.
So you get to the end of the levels and you defeat Dr. Robotnik and there'd be the big container full of all the animals, and then you jump on the switch and it opens up and all the animals escape. That's what I imagine WWE to be like. Someone's got a couple of jump on the button, it opens up and all the wrestlers escape.
Oh my God. There are a lot of young ladies and gentlemen that I would love to see freed, but I'll tell you what, I didn't watch it, but I saw clips of that ridiculous Triple H celebration thing at the end, and boy, getting old is not nice. I don't care who you are. Vince not looking like that young guy interviewing Bob Backlund at ringside anymore. That's for fucking sure. Yeah. Look, I would take Reigns tomorrow. I would take him tomorrow. Again, there's a definite level in his game that we would need to see. But imagine the buzz and the excitement and I think it would be massive. I'd be okay for that. I'll take anything at this point. A job. I'm not gonna lie. I'll take anything at this point. You know what? Let me take that back. I'll take them back in. I like the way that they're doing this. I don't like this half-ass comeback. I don't like this empty arena shit. We talked about this a million times. I think they're doing the right thing by saying we're coming back when we're ready to come back, when the time is right to come back. Again, it hurts to see it tweeted out or in print or whatever that shows are canceled. We knew that they would. So what would be
give an
next on the
analogy? It's like we've been locked up in the chastity belt, and it's not coming off. We don't know when it's coming off, but this is not like you're getting a half-assed hand job in a petrol station or something. No, it's staying on until it's ready to come off, and when it comes off, we're in for a good time.
Yeah, and this is going to be a good time. I cannot imagine just the release. Like, look, these workers and wrestlers, you got to think about them too. It's not like there are guys that have contracts, and the word on the street is that they're getting taken care of. But what about the guys that don't have contracts? Are they still getting taken care of? And okay, so just the in-ring people, everybody seems to be focused on office staff, ticket people. The people who book buildings, the people who set up buildings, the road crew, those type of people, are they still getting taken care of? Again, the assumption is yes, but we don't know that for sure, and I worry about those type of people as well. Because those are the people that you aren't going to hear about. And those are the people that aren't going to be in the Observer. And those are the people that you aren't going to tweet about. But they depend on this company to run shows so that they can put food on their table. Those are the people that are in my mind a lot. because that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. Speaking of scary thoughts, what's next on the docket? What's next to what's in jeopardy next? I guess, Joel.
Is it Kizuna Road that comes after Best of Super Juniors, which leads into? No. I've got it wrong. It's Dominion next. So Best of Super Juniors, then Dominion.
Okay. Is that? Do you give me your? I mean, it's hard to say now. We don't know. Things change by the day. It seems like with this fucking virus. Sometimes you get good news and then it's hammered down.
What is the value in me making that prediction?
It's none.
Absolutely no information. It's pointless.
It is, but we got fucking an hour to go.
we got 4 great wrestling matches to talk about. I was saying before, I said on Twitter that, whilst I'm upset, we're not going to get Best of Super Juniors, blah, 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 I am appreciating this opportunity to just put everything on hold and fill in those huge gaps in my knowledge as a fan and dip into the archives and make use of my 999 yen per month and appreciate some classics, which I probably would have never done otherwise. When would I have thought, you know what, I'm going to put on Fujinami versus Maeda today? I would have never done that. Right. So I love that I'm getting the chance to watch these matches and talk about them with you and with our friends and understand things a bit better, understand the landscape of New Japan and the pro wrestling scene, and see how wrestlers that I might look at as a modern fan as, this washed up old dude, and see them in their heyday and their best matches, and see how current stars have evolved and, changed things, and old moves they used to do and how they sort of tweak things slightly to improve themselves. And when I go back, when New Japan does come back and I start watching the contemporary stuff, I think I'm going to appreciate it a lot more, having had this chance to look back and enjoy it. So I just want to say, this classic watch-along, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's great.
See, that's why you're the anchor of the show. That's why you are the anchor. Not to bring it down, but to settle things down. You are the stabilizing
force. You've seen
force.
All this stuff before, haven't you? This is new for me, and probably new for a lot of people listening to this show.
I mean, I've seen it, but again, I have fucking Alzheimer's, dude. I don't remember shit. I don't know. So some of this stuff is it brings back memories of, I definitely remember this match. I remember watching this match. But truth be told, when we do the I wasn't 100% sure that Maeda Fujinami match was the one that I wanted. Right, and it was. It turned out to be the one I wanted because I kept waiting for the one spot that we'll talk about. And the first time I saw it, but yeah, that is a great attitude to have, and I hope people can take that attitude and run with it, because I think it's an important thing. The one thing that I hate during this whole bullshit is, the phony and the fake. If I could have less of this, I want less of corporations and businesses telling me how much this is a trying time and a difficult time, but they're there for me. I want less of that. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to jump out a window because it's all lies. I would love it, but I would love more of this. The other thing I would not want more of. People posting things online about their exercise routines and all that shit and how they're staying in shape while I eat a whole entire fucking bundt cake and 9 beers. I don't know if I'm going to be able to wear pants after this. I'm just going to be very, very truthful. Trousers are going to be a thing of the past for me, I think. I think I'm going complete athletic wear from now on forevermore. There's no turning back. What I want more of is that, though, Joel. Is that okay? Let's learn a little bit. Let's take the time to kind of delve into some of the history and appreciate some of the people that got us to where we are right now. I like that. I like that attitude. I guess for me, it's, I don't know. Maybe there is a little bit of a stigma behind it of, we've seen these before. These are old and blah 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 blah. But they're still great. Because I watch, we agree on the 4 matches and every week, And I do get excited to be like, oh, I know that's going to be good. I remember that. I don't know if I remember that as well as I should. I can't. That might be a cool thing to say. And even then, I've watched more old wrestling than I have in a long time. I mean, I'm in the midst of watching a Vader compilation. It's fucking awesome, which led me to like random 1992 WCW matches with Vader, with listen to the fucking lineup that WCW had. They had Vader, the Steiners, Arn Anderson, who was still good, Bobby Eaton, who was still good, Steve Austin's in the mix around here, Steamboat, Flair. I was watching some Kurosawa makes an appearance. Our old Nakanishi. Full head of hair, just like, I remember this shit. So that's good. So yeah, I'm glad that you have that attitude, Joel, and I hope others have it to use this time. There's so much good shit out there that I'm sure you haven't seen. Pick a guy, jump in, just find shit. Go to YouTube, dark hole. Go online. There's plenty of ways to find this shit. But yeah,
and I'll take that over empty arena wrestling any day of the week. It's not even a question for me.
I would agree. The empty arena shit is not doing it for me. It's really not. But yeah, I would rather watch a fucking match from 1984 where a crowd is going batshit crazy and guys are working their asses off and a match is tremendous, even out of context. Like I might not even remember the entire context of okay, I'm assuming they're fighting for a championship here, but even that is better than empty arena shit. Absolutely.
All right, then. So our first match that we're going to look at is from June 12th, 1986 in Osaka-jo Hall. It's the IWGP Heavyweight Championship League. It's a match between Tatsumi Fujinami and Akira Maeda. So you want to set the table for us? Why did you pick this match? And give us the context, please.
Again, I'm on this obsession with Maeda in his time in New Japan, as well as Nobuhiko Takada, because I just find them to be such interesting characters in pro wrestling. Again, Fujinami was always groomed to be the number 2 guy behind Inoki, and there were times where it felt like he might be number 3, and there were times where it might feel like he might actually be the guy. But truth be told, there was always that glass ceiling of Inoki. And Maeda, who was brash and cocky, and because he knew, or he felt like he knew, that he could whip any one of these guys' asses, the fans felt like they... or at least a portion of them felt like that might be the case and supported him. But then there were fans that hated him who, they felt like he turned his back on pro wrestling and, he always had this little bit of a reputation of being a little bit of a wild card and a loose cannon. And, between, look, when he's throwing those kicks, they're worked kicks. But some of them look a little dangerous, don't they, Joe? They look dangerous. And you never know. He always seems to be walking that line of, okay, what the fuck was that kick? What are you thinking there? You're not being too safe here. And that factor, played into his career. And 87, it blew up, with the kick that he gave Choshu, which, again, he gets suspended. He's fucking on the shelf, and then they don't renew his contract, and then the guy fucking explodes into the biggest star at the time, Japanese pro wrestling, with UWF, selling out Tokyo Domes and selling out shit left and right. I don't know, he's just one of those interesting characters. Like, it'll never happen, but if they had a dark side of the ring on fucking Akira Maeda, oh, how great would that be? Just an interesting dude. So anywho, this match, it kind of built up that tension of, Maeda being a guy who thinks he should be in a bigger spot than he is, and Fujinami, who's always the guy that's, I don't want to say protecting people from the top spot, but he's always that. I don't want to say he's Goto, but he's second. He's always behind Inoki, it felt like. And this was, I don't want to say a culmination of that, but a great match that turned into, again, another question mark on Akira Maeda.
One thing I love about watching these old matches is you get a real sense of time, and this just seems so 80s to me, because like at the start when you load up on New Japan World, you got like the ladies in the flash dance gear, which I absolutely loved, and then you got these two guys, and we're used to today, we're in the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom 14 and seeing those amazing colourful entrances with guys like Okada, Naito, and JY, Ibushi, Ospreay, Hiromu. But here you just got two guys in the iconic black trunks, which nowadays we associate with the Young Lions, but back then, that is how they dressed. And so, yeah, like you say, you got Maeda, who's the cool, charismatic guy, and again, it's that submission grappling style that was popular in the early 2000s, the Inokiism era, even the sort of stuff we see from like a Zack Sabre Jr. today. So I was discussing this with Manabu, who is a real student of the game. He knows his stuff. He's been a fan since day one, and he's filling me in here. So like the first UWF is like the early incarnation of this. So you got Sayama, who's trying to educate fans about just martial arts, basic submission holds, things like that. So this is what we get in the match. It's mainly an exchange of submission holds, but you get these little bursts of speed in the match to break things up and add that pacing to it. And huge chants from the crowd, like the dragon chant for Fujinami. And initially you don't get the real babyface versus heel dynamic. It's not as clear cut at the start. It just feels more like a kind of combat sports presentation. It's just like two prize fighters who are trying to see who the toughest guy is. Right. And then the story within the match of Maeda working over the left leg of Fujinami, and Fujinami's selling is just superb. He really, he looks like he's had an absolute kicking in this match. And so Maeda's got, I think, is a karate background, so he's, like you say, he's just laying in the kicks, the head kicks, and he's a guy who's influenced by pioneers like Sayama, Fujiwara, and it feels like the early incarnations of a style that is even popular today. Like I was thinking, you could take this main event and plug it into a main event of like a Noah show, and people would still love it. And when you look at this Fujinami against Maeda, it's like pro wrestling versus martial arts, isn't it? And I did wonder watching it how many people were sitting in that arena in Osaka-jo thinking that this was a real fight, especially watching things like UWF, like the little touches, like Sayama inventing the kick pads so they make that incredible sound. And Manabu was telling me that he wanted to buy some back then. It cost 20,000 yen apparently, and one of his mates bought a pair of the kick pads. So with the bulk of this match, it's largely two guys fighting for position, which might on paper sound pretty dull, but it gets a great reaction from the crowd, and like I say, interspersed by these high tempo periods of kicks. And there was the moment with the wakigatame, what we know as the Fujiwara armbar, which created great drama because that's one of the holds that the crowd would actually recognise as dangerous because of as it had been applied by Fujiwara. And like the first quote unquote wrestling move of the match, it's like a German suplex. I think it's a good 15 minutes or so into the match, and we get Maeda's signature move, the capture suplex, but fans back then obviously not conditioned to recognising a particular move as a quote-unquote finisher as we'd understand it. That's a very pro wrestling thing, a very modern day pro wrestling thing, like where you see a move and like that's signalling the end of the match. But here it's moves that seem like, for us as a modern day audience, the bread and butter of modern matches are the dramatic peaks of this match, and they're used really sparingly. And I understand that at the time fans wanted Inoki versus Maeda, but that never happens. And as you talked about with Maeda before, Inoki didn't want that match because Maeda, he's a loose cannon. He's a dangerous guy. Like you said, the shoot kick to Riki Choshu. Apparently there was the Andre the Giant match where he gave him a really stiff kicking. And so towards the end of the match, we get the blood. And I'm not sure if the blood was accidental or not, but as always, blood always adds a ton of drama to a match. And you got this great visual, both guys lying in the ring, covered in blood, which apparently the ref said was accidental.
You think it was?
Manabu told me the referee said in a book that it was accidental, and the referee changed the finish of the match and told Maeda not to stand up so he could call it as a double KO. So, I don't know if that's legit or not. It's just what one person's saying. This turned out to be Tokyo Sports Match of the Year. And it's quite an interesting finish, getting a double KO. So you don't have a decisive winner. But it made Fujinami look like he survived Maeda. Like, he got the moral victory. And Fujinami, he's like the heart and the story of this match. His selling was such a great foil for the clinical sadism of Maeda, who's just got this like expressionless face for most of the matches. He's trying to rip your arms off or just kick the shit out of you. And then at the end, you got the crowd showing respect for both men. There's no sense of dissatisfaction with getting a non-finish. It was a really satisfying finish in spite of the lack of a clear winner. And I just think it's a great match that holds up today, even though this is 30 odd years ago.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that you loved it because yeah, I remember getting this match on tape and being really into it at the time, and then the finish kind of coming out of nowhere with the kick, and if you blink, you miss it because it's one of the spin kick or capo kick or rolling kick or whatever you want to call it in the corner, and it looks like it just nicks Fujinami, but Fujinami instantly puts his hands up, goes down, and then the next shot you see is he is just covered in blood on the one side of his face. And you are right. Like half that audience, it felt like, it was pretty split. It felt like people rooting for Maeda, people rooting for Fujinami, and the people rooting for Fujinami. It's kind of like, New Japan versus UWF or UWFI. They've milked that idea of who's better, what style is better, and people defending the honor of that style. And two, I guarantee you there were people that those Maeda fans that wanted it to break down, that go there. It's almost like, people, how they used to describe going to a Sex Pistols concert, where you wanted the chaos to break out. Like, you wanted the fucking lads to start lobbing, bottles and because you wanted that sense of danger and that sense of unpredictability and that sense of this could fucking explode at any moment and get real, and my guy Maeda's got a better chance of fucking surviving than your guy. Like, they almost wanted it, They kind of wanted that sense of danger. I'm glad that you like this match because this is one of my favorites. I was hoping this was the one that we picked. I'm always unsure of dates, but yeah, it's I always think of those fucking kicks, and again, a lot of them are delivered in the chest and the arms, and hitting them hard in safe spaces. But man, some of those kicks go astray, and they whack them right in a fucking mush. And there were a couple there, and again, here's one that got away, and it did look like the finish was impromptu, like it was done on the spot. I wonder what the finish would have been. And you're right, the fans didn't seem like too disappointed in that, but there were times where they were teasing those countouts, and they got back in the ring, and those fans were like, "Yes, thank God." They're not gonna wimp out and do a bullshit countout finish. Yeah, this match ruled. I loved it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it just as much as we did.
So we're going to fast forward 5 years later after that. So June 26, 1992, in Nippon Budokan, we have the IWGP Tag Team Championship match with Big Van Vader and Crusher Bam Bam Bigelow versus Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner. So this one, again, I'm talking to Manabu, who this is one of his favourite matches, and he was actually there in Budokan Hall at the time. So to give the backstory, Bigelow had debuted in New Japan in 1987, and he got a really heavy push, and he beat Fujinami and Maeda. So that's quite unusual, seeing what big stars they were back then, especially a guy like Maeda who didn't usually eat pins. So then he left New Japan to go to WWF. As people know, he debuted at the Survivor Series. He also got a big push in WWF. He's working with guys like Hulk Hogan. He was the last surviving member of the team. He beating guys like One Man Gang, King Kong Bundy. Then when he went back to New Japan, it's like he's lost his spot now. So you got Big Van Vader's already debuted, and then Bigelow is putting over guys like Hashimikov in his opening match, the ex-Yokozuna Kitao. So he's now being used to put over the new guys. So, even the guys like Scott Norton and Tony Harm. So, and Vader was also pinned by Harm. So you've got two guys who were big single stars, but now are kind of falling down the rankings a bit. So they've been put together in the tag division. And the match against Doom at the Tokyo Dome in '91, and apparently these guys have said they hate each other, which is why they make a good tag team. And so, back then in the late 80s, like the Road Warriors would have been number one team, seen as really cool. But the Steiners are seen as real athletes comparatively. So they got their amateur background. So, a lot of people thinking, well, these guys are better than the Road Warriors. It's like a new style, a new type of wrestler. So they were incredibly over with the fans. And apparently the fans really wanted Road Warriors versus Hanson and Brody. That was like the big dream match of that era. So this is a kind of the dream match of the next era. So two really strong guys against a quality tag team. So, think of it like a modern day Golden Lovers versus Young Bucks kind of scenario. So you got the Steiners who've studied the New Japan style a lot. You can see that in the matches. We looked at one of them before, the Hase and Sasaki match.
Yep.
And in this match, I think it was interesting seeing what a ring general Bigelow is, because it seemed to me that he controlled everything, and Vader seems pretty pissed off about the fact that he's having to lose to these WCW guys. And there's even tension, like I said before, between Vader and Bigelow. Vader taking Bigelow's spot, and there was a lot. And Manabu, speaking personally, he said he was more excited about this tag match than the rest of the card. And I went to look at the cards, and it's a pretty stacked show by all accounts. So I'm just going to go Masters of Wrestling. So on this show, we've got El Samurai against Jushin Thunder Liger for the junior heavyweight title. We got a singles match between Hiroshi Hase and Kensuke Sasaki. We got a heavyweight title match between Riki Choshu and Masahiro Chono. So even in what I think looks like a pretty stacked lineup, a lot of people were most excited about seeing this dream tag match between these four Westerners. So you get a sense of how hyped up the crowd were, and why it's so noisy in Budokan Hall when these guys come out, and the huge reactions they're getting for everything. And I actually watched the TV Asahi version of this, and there was a great interview before with both guys where you got Masa Saito as the interviewer, and he's doing the translating as well. And one of the Steiners is like, I want to get the WIGP tag title, so that's definitely worth a watch. I might try and tweet that out later. But like I say, like the Steiners get this absolutely massive reaction from the fans, and just little touches like the presentation back there, the camera following them from backstage. Again, it gives that combat sports feel to the match. And even just when Vader and Bigelow get in the ring and they start running the ropes, that's building up excitement. The fans pop for that because it's like looking at a couple of caged gorillas who are about to get into a big scrap. And I spoke a few weeks ago about how Great Sasuke circles the ring, the way he moves, and Bigelow's got a similar very unique style of moving around the ring, and just so athletic for a big guy, like incredible enzigiri for a big man, and just everything he does gets a great reaction. He's just outstanding in this match, and like you can tell early on that Bigelow's going to be taking the bulk of the offense from the Steiners, and they are Bigelow and Vader establishing themselves as the dominant champions early on, but then the story of the match being the superior synergy and the teamwork of the Steiners, who know each other better, is going to overcome the individual power of Bigelow and Vader, who've got this tension between them. And there's something visual like about just seeing these four huge guys in the ring that's really kind of viscerally appealing. Just so much meat in the ring, four massive dudes who are about to batter each other, and Vader, for his part, hugely popular as well. You see the way he's working the crowds, and a guy who left a big cultural impact in Japan. You can go and see in the 90s, like the video games, like the beat 'em up games, games like Fatal Fury, where you've got characters created in those games who are like tributes to Vader at the time. So his corner punches have got a lot of attention this week because they look really snug. Like, I know there was some drama on Twitter about Joey Ryan saying that, oh, look at this guy abusing and taking advantage of the jobbers, which, from what I understand, is not really the case. Like, it looks like he's really, laying in and working stiff, but apparently not. It's just, goes to speak to what a great worker he was, that he made it look so vicious. And Vader, his big power spots, they're the punctuation points, like the exclamation points in this match to the narrative, because Rick Steiner's bumping makes Vader look like an absolute monster, but then in turn, a minute later, when Rick Steiner gets the backdrop on the German suplex, it gets an incredible response from the crowd because of the minutes that preceded it, where he is making Vader look like the monster. And there's a great moment where Scott Steiner sort of stumbles. He's trying to launch himself off the top rope and he falls. Apparently, the camera didn't catch Bigelow shaking the top rope. So that was intentional. You got Bigelow shaking the top rope to make Scott fall, and it wasn't picked up on that by the camera. And I think, as we talked about before with the Liger versus Sasuke match, that's an underused spot, a guy sort of slipping on the top rope, because it looks like an accident. It's always got people questioning whether or not it was a real botch. So, and just the way, like, you have Scott Steiner literally bouncing when Bigelow suplexes him, it's just so impactful. And again, cool moves that you don't see these days, like the butterfly backbreaker done from Bigelow, and great spot where Scott Steiner's trying to lift Bigelow, just collapses under his weight. And it's just remarkable the way that Vader and Bigelow are two guys who visually look quite similar in terms of their build, but they work such a different style. Like the way Bigelow moves, how he runs the ropes, his sentons, it's just so dynamic for the size of him, and so much fun to watch. So I would love to watch a Bigelow singles match somewhere down the line in New Japan. And there's that great spot later on where Bigelow catches Rick, drops him face first on the top rope. It looks brutal, and just the pacing and the way it all connects together is incredibly fluid, and the speed of the closing exchanges, the energy for that late on in the match is remarkable. The crowd are stamping their feet like it's literally a thunderous response to what they're seeing. And even I thought the ref bump at the end looked quite good. It wasn't like a cheesy ref bump that we might see these days. And so you got Bigelow getting the visual pin to protect them, given the politics in the match. But Scott Steiner stopping Vader from making the save by flying across the ring. It was just a really dramatic conclusion to the match, and Vader's looking quite pissed afterwards. I heard that he left New Japan because there was a financial problem, him not coming to Japan and not getting paid. So he was headhunted by UWFI. Bigelow went back to WWF. So this, I think, was the last tag match for them. And the Steiners soon after lost the title to Norton and Harm. They ended up back at WWF. So watching this match, it feels like the end of an era with these four guys in New Japan.
Yeah, and if you want to put a circle on a calendar of maybe not every one of those guys, but it might be the beginning of the decline. This was peak Steiners, and they were over. They were over huge. I would say even in WCW, and New Japan just took them and and the fans fell in love with them. They never go through that archive. Old TV shows or whatever. Find any footage you can of them in New Japan. You're not going to be disappointed because they're all like that. They all have that similar feel. It's funny that you mentioned that spot from Scott Steiner that when he fell off the ropes, because I even rewatched it and didn't notice that the ropes were being. It looked like he just stood on the top rope and clumsily fell off. Lost his balance and fell off. Because as weird as this sounds, as I'm watching, as I talked about before, I'm watching like 92 WCW stuff. And there was a spot where he kind of did that too. He didn't fall off, but he was losing his balance, standing on the top rope. Like he could have gone either way pretty quick. Like it looked legit. It didn't look like it was part of a match. Like he was losing his balance on the top rope. And then I saw that spot and I was like, my God, can this guy stay off the top fucking rope? He obviously does not have the balance to do this. But you mentioned that it was Bigelow shaking the rope. So I thought it was an interesting thing. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we could watch a collection of Steiner brother matches from New Japan. And I don't think you'd be disappointed in any of them. I feel like this is peak New Japan tag too. Like they had a lot of interesting tag teams. They did rely heavily on the beef, but you have guys like the Steiners and Bigelow, Vader, guys who aren't immobile. That's important, right? These guys can move, and at this time they were at the peak. They could move at a great clip. What year was this again? What year did this take place?
This was 92.
Okay. So let's think about this, right? And the greatness that this was from a tag perspective. Know that in their minds, I'm sure that locker room knows the going on of All Japan and how their tag team situation and their tag matches are starting to become legendary. So I don't know. I'd be curious to find out if there was that inner locker room. I see what they're doing over on that side. Let's see what we can do on this side. Because those Misawa and Kawada and Gordy and Williams and all that stuff. I mean, that's whew. Imagine doing a fucking podcast reviewing those shows. Jesus Christ, it's tremendous. And I think one of those dream matches. You know, how you talked about that Hanson Brody Road Warriors in the '80s for many a Japanese fan. You know, I can't believe we're talking a lot of WCW, but, you know, a dream match that was going on in WCW at that time was Steiner's, New Japan guys, against Gordy and Williams, All Japan guys, All Japan Tag Team Champions. And there are matches between these two WCW-wise, which were really good, really great. Gordy and Doc were the WCW Tag Team Champions. So the Miracle of Violence connection. So that had to be protected to a certain degree because Doc and Gordy, you know, they couldn't look like fucking, you know, jabrones against the Steiners because they were New Japan guys and vice versa. So it was an interesting time. So even when that match was going on between Bigelow and Vader, you know, they're going back home, Steiners, you know, they're having matches with All Japan's tag champions in WCW. So just a little added extra spice to that story. So interesting time, man. Early 90s. There was a lot of stuff that didn't stick in WCW, but you know, looking back on it, I might be romanticizing it a little bit, but there's a lot of good shit there, and that's one of them. Steiners against Gordy and fucking Williams. That is good shit, as Vince would say.
Our next match is on November 11th, 2007 at Sumo Hall. It's the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Hiroki Goto. And I picked this match because I'm trying to pinpoint the moment where Goto was at his peak and to sort of try and understand why and when he lost his credibility with a lot of fans. And I guess a lot of people would say when he was losing to a lot of Noah guys, you know, guys like Sugiura, Goto often ate the pins in those matches where, you know, people like Tanahashi Nakamura would beat those types of wrestlers who were coming in. So at this time in 2007, Goto had just returned from his excursion in Mexico and he was a junior guy. A guy like Sho would be a good comparison. Good worker, but relatively small. And from what I understand, Japanese guys usually lose weight there because of the food. But Goto put on 10 kilograms, so he came back, he became a heavyweight. And he beat Tenzan to establish himself, and he was part of the Rise stable. And by all accounts, just seemed like a future star there. And at the time, this is like the dark era of New Japan. It's not so popular at the time. So I think the worked attendance is like 6,500. Apparently the real attendance is more like 2,000 because you can see when you're watching this, a lot of boxes are empty, like they've got the curtain across to cover them up. And just the perception at the time is that, you know, pro wrestling is fake, MMA is real. So Manabu gave me some translations from this book about Tanahashi and Nakamura. So Tanahashi, for his part, he's a guy who went to a relatively prestigious university by all accounts, which is quite unusual. He's clearly an intelligent guy. You know, if you compare with other wrestlers like Naito didn't go to university, Okada didn't even go to high school. But so Tanahashi was at university and he went to the Takada versus Muto Tokyo Dome match, which I think we reviewed a few weeks ago. Next year he tried out for New Japan but he failed. He wanted to try again. He went to the G1 in 96. Had another chance in 97 and passed. And 5 out of the 40 applicants passed. And apparently the examiner then was Choshu. He said to Tanahashi, you have to graduate from university first. So he was studying a lot at the time. Debuted in 1999, already over 100 kilograms, and he's got the amateur wrestling background. And at the time then, New Japan was losing popularity due to things like, the Sakuraba against Gracie Pride match, the mixed martial arts getting really popular in Japan at the time. And then in 2002, of course, there's the scandal with Tanahashi where he was stabbed by his girlfriend. Apparently, the story goes that he had sex with her and then dumped her immediately afterwards. So for a guy who's supposed to be that intelligent, that's a pretty questionable move. It was an assistant at the New Japan TV show. So he's a bit of a playboy. Apparently, when he went to watch these shows in the past, he didn't even book a hotel room. He was just chatting up girls so that he'd have somewhere to stay. But surprisingly, he wasn't fired. And then he won his first title in 2006. So there was the whole kerfuffle with Brock Lesnar, who had the title and wouldn't give it back. And so from that point, it's like a turning point for Tanahashi. He changed his finisher from the sling blade to the high fly flow. And he, by his own admission, he wants to be like Shawn Michaels. And he's introduced his catchphrase of "Aishitemasu, I love you," which got no reaction at first, but he kept at it. And he did lots of promotion, like small local radio, which was quite unusual. Like the Three Musketeers back then never did things like that. So Tanahashi really trying to put himself and the product out there, which no one else had really done up to that point. So that sets the table for this match between these two guys. And just watching it's just different comparing it to the wrestlers that we know now, the Goto and Tanahashi of 2020. So Goto, he's got different music, he's got different gear, and Tanahashi, not really so popular at the time as he is today. And you can see in this match he's leaning into that with, like the slap and holding onto the leg locks despite rope breaks, referee telling him to break it up, and the face stomps, just the little disrespectful touches there that shows that, you can see that Shawn Michaels influence for him. So, he's projecting himself like a superstar, like he's, above all this. And so the story of the match, Goto establishes the more powerful wrestler. You got just little spots like the beefy lariat over the barricade. So Tanahashi, realising he needs to change his approach, and he starts going off to Goto's left knee. So even this early on in Tanahashi's career, he's still got a keen sense for telling a story in the ring. And that's one of the things I love about Tanahashi, that whatever match he's in, any singles match, like 5 minutes in, you know what the story of the match is, and it transcends all language barriers. You watch it and you know exactly what the story of the match is, and I always find it compelling. And again, he's telling this story. He's going for the forearm exchange with Goto, and then he eats a big forearm, and then he realizes he wants none of that, and he starts going back to the knee again. And it's really nice, fluid transitions, sling blade into the dragon sleeper. And the thing, I watched this match because I wanted to focus on Goto, but just the thing that's standing out the most for me when I saw it is Tanahashi, his cockiness, his flair, the way he works the crowd before doing a senton, yelling to the crowd before going for the apron suplex, just the little touches like that show he's an absolute professional. And he's a really good foil for Goto here, as Goto playing the straight man. But it seemed to me watching this, Goto never really evolved or had those layers or those subtleties and nuances to him. And you could argue that this was Goto's peak in terms of ring performance. I wouldn't say that personally. I think he's had better matches than this, but this is certainly one of his best. And I don't know about Goto. Maybe he is happy with his spot on the card. He's not a guy who I think is phoning it in per se, but it seems sometimes that he's comfortable. So, okay, coming back to this match, there are the touches of Ishii Shibata with the slaps, the no-selling, the suplexes and stuff, which is something you don't often see, especially in Tanahashi matches these days. And Goto showing passion and fire again that we rarely see from him. You maybe get this kind of passion from Goto once a year or so. And so in this match, Goto gets so fired up that he loses his head somewhat. He pushes over the ref, he's getting angry, and then Tanahashi's able to recover. He takes control of the sling blade. And then what I thought was really interesting here, you see Tanahashi doing a delayed deadlift German suplex, which is a very popular move in a lot of Japanese promotions these days. So I'm going to circle back, and we've got a question about this delayed deadlift German suplex later on. But I did notice Tanahashi using it here. And he kicks out of Goto's Shoten finisher. So Goto had to then evolve it to the Shoten Kai later on in his career. And then just a little thing, Tanahashi going for the cheeky inside cradle while Goto's posturing to the crowd. Just one of those little great story beats that Tanahashi, he's the more crafty guy. He's the more experienced pro who can keep his head in these high-pressure title matches. And there was a nasty botch later where Tanahashi dropped on his face. And then in the closing stretch, we get Tanahashi doing his high fly flow, but this time he does it onto Goto's knees to weaken them even further, going into the Texas Cloverleaf. So again, I love the fact that with these matches, it's not all, you don't always get the same finish. It's not like, oh, this is the closing stretch, these are my signature moves, bang, it's over. I like the fact that he's mixing it up, and it made sense within the context of this story to have him do the high fly flow to the knee and then go for the submission, which is something that Robbie Eagles did in his debut match in the Super Junior Tag League last year when he got the submission win over Liger. He did, I can't remember exactly what it was. Was it a 450 splash or something onto Liger's leg and then went into the Ron Miller special to get the submission? So I just love the little changes like that where you adapt moves and things that the audience are normally expecting things to play out, and then you subvert them and you sort of modify it slightly so it fits in with the story of the match. So just outstanding performance from both guys, and I went in incredibly impressed by Goto. I think this is a really amazing performance by him, but I left it being more impressed by Tanahashi, his storytelling, and the layers to his performance. So I thought this was great. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. One thing that I left this match with, though, if you took a flag and made a mark on this match and then try to remember, okay, some of the stuff that came after this match, does it feel like to you, and this was the question that I had, like I said, when I turned this off, like it feels to me like with Tanahashi, I could see this match and then see the progression of him even becoming better than what he was in that match. And I don't know if I can say the same for Goto. Like, I don't know if I could take this match and then chart his career afterward and rewatch Goto matches and be like, oh, he's I don't want to say improved, but he's like, it feels like I could take this match and put this in 2008 and 9, 10, 11. I mean, whereas Tanahashi, I don't know if even necessarily, like, I just feel like he had other levels that he rose to past this match.
Yeah, that's exactly my point, Damon. You watch Goto's best matches over the last couple of years. I'm thinking like I thought the Kenta match at Wrestle Kingdom was really good. I thought his Suzuki match at Wrestle Kingdom 12 was outstanding. But if you compare that to this match, he's actually doing fewer matches in the more recent... not fewer matches, fewer things. There's less variety in the more recent matches than he's showing back in 2007. It's like he started doing less things than he was this early on in his career.
Yeah, less things and like, again, I feel like take this match and put this in 2019 and it would fit. It would be a Goto match, right? but it doesn't. But I don't know if I could say the same. If I could say, okay, Tanahashi, take this match and plop it in 2018. I think we would have went to 2018. So that was one thing. I did at any point, and it might have been intentional. At any point, did it feel like to you that Tanahashi was over the top to push the pro wrestling narrative because of all the things that you mentioned? Like, did it feel like at any point, he was over the top pro wrestler to you?
No, not to an egregious extent. No, I found it quite compelling. Like I said, with Goto being as straight-laced as he is in this match, as the sort of archetypal fighting spirit guy, I thought Tanahashi played off that really well.
Right. I don't know. There was a time, and I'm trying to remember the exact time when I felt this, but it just felt like, okay, we get it. I don't know. There was a moment where it was like, okay, it just felt like his goal in this match was to uber promote pro wrestling being pro wrestling, as opposed to having, I don't know. Maybe he was again. I'm speaking as if I'm in his head, but maybe it felt to me like he felt like he needed to show extra layers of pro wrestling as opposed to maybe what was popular at the time with MMA. And I think that at points it felt like it was a little bit gratuitous, if that's the word I'm looking for. Like, it just felt like, okay, we get it. You're a pro wrestler and you want to be you want pro wrestling to survive. And I'm not saying he came out with a fucking gobbledygooker, but there are times, and again, maybe it's just the match, and maybe it's just I don't know. It just felt like he was pro wrestler Hiroshi Tanahashi and not just Hiroshi Tanahashi, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's a fair criticism. But I guess just given the circumstances and the way, like you mentioned, Tanahashi wanted to differentiate and distinguish it from mixed martial arts, that maybe he was just trying to be extra loud with that. And like I say, maybe do the Shawn Michaels comparisons ring true for you, like the way he's kind of hamming it up to that extent?
I mean, it's well documented that he was heavily influenced, and he used that, Michaels in particular, as an influence, and he's always been one of those guys that he's looked to as being a model pro wrestler. I think there's some elements of that. I don't, he's not fucking, coming out the sexy boy or anything like that, but it's always been well documented that he appreciates the fact that pro wrestling is pro wrestling, and the strengths of pro wrestling don't necessarily have to do with beating the shit out of each other. Again, it's nothing that's too out of control crazy pro wrestling. It's not fucking, he's not doing cinematic pro wrestling at this point. But it just felt like there was just an extra added layer that seemed a little bit obvious to me, that he was, again, that pro wrestling push, that he could have eased off the gas pedal a little bit for me in this match. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's an interesting take on it. Let's move on to our final match then, which is Kizuna Road 2013 on July the 5th in Tokyo Korakuen Hall. That's an interesting thing, Damon. All four of our matches come from different venues this week. We got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match with Prince Devitt against Gedo. Now, you picked this one, Damon, I believe. So, interesting story here. You mentioned something. So, am I right? Tell me if I got this right. So, at Dominion, we have Makabe versus Okada, with Okada defending his title. And so this is when Bullet Club was relatively new, and Devitt had gone through Best of the Super Juniors undefeated, but with lots of cheating, which upset a lot of purists. So not actually dissimilar to Jay White, but he established himself as a fan favourite before his heel turn, unlike White. So Devitt was the IWGP Junior Champion as well as Best of the Super Juniors winner. He'd beaten Tanahashi, had now challenged Okada at the end of Dominion. But Okada's condition was that he had to put up his junior title, but Okada said that he's a heavyweight and can't challenge, but Gedo is going to challenge for it. And Gedo had quite an interesting reaction to this, didn't he?
Yeah, he shit his pants. He was like, what? What am I doing? Look, when we talk about pro wrestling and some of the funny twists and turns, that I don't know. I enjoyed this whole idea of having to get through Gedo to get to Okada. And that when you have that element, plus the addition of Bullet Club, who, are trying to establish themselves as, heels and cheaters and will do anything they can to win. I don't know. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of all people, Gedo being the gatekeeper, so to speak. Again, the beginning of, Carl Anderson, seeing him again, and Fale. And I always was a huge fan of the fact that Fale would carry on his shoulders Devitt to the ring. I always thought that was an amazing entrance. Loved it when they did that. But I just thought this was a little bit of a lighter, fast-paced, shenanigan-filled, fun pro wrestling match in front of a hot Korakuen crowd that wanted Gedo to win in the worst way, just to have it happen. I thought this was like a nice palate cleanser, so to speak.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, Gedo's actually said that this was the best match of his career in his book. So he's in great shape, which really stood out to me. He's better shape than he was in 1994.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of support for Gedo from the crowd because of his association with Okada, who is turning into a fan favourite there. But interestingly, early in the match, Gedo slaps Devitt, but the crowd are cheering, which is quite unusual because usually, whoever you are, if you behave like a heel, then the crowd will treat you like one. But just the way that Gedo is baiting Carl Anderson, and Carl Anderson's just great at selling that frustration, and that plays on later on in the match in a really great way. I mean, did you enjoy Devitt more as a heel or a face?
As a heel, I in the beginning. So understand that this was not anything that was necessarily new when it came to cheating, especially foreign pro wrestlers. That's not a new concept, but it was so over the top. It felt like at times and the idea of it was sort of new. The absolute over the topness of the interference and the cheating and again Devitt kind of going through Best of the Super Juniors, especially him because at the time I don't think people necessarily expected that from him. I liked it. It got old quick. Again, I don't like to see too much bullshit in my pro wrestling, mind you. At the time, I don't remember hating it, but as you well know, that kind of shit can get old quick. But everybody in that crowd just wanted to get, some payback on Devitt, and that's what a heel does, right? I guess that's what a heel does. But everybody in that crowd wanted, to fucking get the win. To put one over finally on a guy that's been fucking over everybody for months.
Yeah, and also Gedo wasn't in Best of the Super Juniors that year, so I don't know if they were intentionally keeping him out so they could line up this match. But anyway, as the match plays out, the exposed turnbuckle plays into the match quite heavily, and the story of Gedo outsmarting Devitt, going after his knee, and a chair shot getting cheers and applause from the crowd. It's just really bizarre, very unusual, and I think watching this, I got shades of Jay White from the way Gedo was wrestling, sneakily getting the advantage, going after a body part. So I think there's a good chance that Gedo is influencing Jay White in the way that he wrestles.
I would agree with that, yeah.
The stomp, the reverse Bloody Sunday, very crisp, very well executed from Devitt. Gedo kicking out of secondary moves, I thought that was quite interesting as well. So obviously they've gone some way to make him look like a credible challenger, even though you might not necessarily believe that he was going to win the title. They wanted to make him look good in the process. You got a ref bump, a low blow, and the Gedo clutch for a 2.999 count, which is a little sequence that Taichi has obviously reappropriated. And then Okada saving Gedo from far late, and Carl Anderson got a huge reaction as well. It was playing into earlier with Gedo winding them up. So really dramatic near falls like the frog splash, and Carl Anderson eats that chair shot towards the end of the match, and that's paying off the earlier baiting that Gedo was doing. And it's like you said, really fun match, made Gedo look competitive without making Devitt look bad. And there was some trophy which I don't know what that was. Maybe you could shine some light on that. Could that have been the Best of Super Juniors trophy? I don't know, but anyway, I really enjoy the whole story of if you want a shot at me, you have to go through one of my boys. That always works for me because it's very, I guess it's quite video gamey, which is why it probably resonates with me. But Devitt got the title shot against Okada 2 weeks later, which maybe is a match we'll discuss in the future. But really fun little match and really hot crowd. Korakuen, what do you want?
Yeah, I agree 100%. A quick, easy, super sweet little dish. Yeah, no doubt. And you're right. And again, this is one of the main reasons why we watch this is a guy who quite honestly, nobody would really expect at that point in time for him to get a win over Devitt. But again, made to look competitive, made to look like he has a shot, to at least give people moments of doubt against Devitt. And at the same time, Devitt doesn't look like a boob doing it. I'll tell you a comparison that this reminds me of, and you tell me if I'm off base. I mean, situations are a little bit different, but the basic formula the same. Rocky Romero and El Fantasma.
Yeah, I definitely see that. The experienced pro, but who's also the underdog against the hot, cocky, brash young Bullet Club star.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it seemed like the same formula that works. Again, different, different ways to get there, right? Different path, mind you, with the idea of getting past him to get to Okada, but the match formula and how that was laid out seemed like it was in the same boat, right? So learning from history once again is key. So yeah, I like that. I like this match a lot. Again, just a nice. I watched this match. This wasn't the last one I watched. I think I watched this one in the middle, and it was nice because it was just like the nice palate cleanser, a little sugary treat to go on to a main dish match. So good stuff there. I like that one a lot.
All right, let's dip into the questions then. And this one, I touched on it earlier about Tanahashi's delayed deadlift German suplex. So Manabu asks, I checked recent All Japan, DDT and Noah matches, evaluated like 5-star, but I couldn't enjoy it at all. One thing I noticed, Miyahara, Takeshita and Kiyomiya all using the spot where they're slowly holding the arms before the suplex, which they stole from Tanahashi. What do you think of that? I think they're hugely overrated and not the same level as New Japan. So what do you think of these guys and particularly the use of that spot?
I don't have a problem with people using spots associated with other wrestlers. Like, I think it's a weird idea of wrestlers owning moves. I don't know. I think maybe it's a finish.
But just the fact that there's so many of these, hot young ace types using the same move, I just find that a bit strange.
Yeah. I mean, it shows a lack of creativity for sure, number one. Number two, it's, I hate to say it, but a little formulatic. I can't even say the word, but you know what I mean, right? That it works for one guy, so it'll work for everybody. It's kind of like music where you have the one hot band that explodes, and then you have 15,000 carbon copies, and they get worse and worse each one you see. I see the point. I don't lose sleep over it, but yeah, look, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But yeah, the more trickle down it gets, the less impact it does have. I will say that.
Okay, let me dig into the Discord then. While I'm firing that up, I'm going to ask a Twitter question. Sandre the Giant at Downward Spiral says, what is the most iconic New Japan hair choices? Is it Tenryu's Jerry Curl, Hashimoto's Fat Elvis, Hasei's Porno Stash, or Nakanishi's Magnificent Mullet?
Nakanishi's mullet was pretty great, only because that's fresh in my head. The Kurosawa, him coming out with that, looking like 1985 Bono. What else we got on that list? Hashimoto. I loved Hashimoto. I love that look, that chubby little face of his. Kill somebody. Those chops. The Tenryu curl is pretty great, though. All of them those are some pretty good picks, actually. Those are some pretty good. That's a good job by what was it? Sandre the Giant? Is that who we're doing here?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice, very creative. I'm going to go only because it's new. I'm going to go mullet Nakanishi.
Okay, I'm looking at the Discord. Okay, Jacob says, what is your guys' opinion on Michael Elgin's run in New Japan? I kind of written him off because I didn't enjoy a lot of his stuff he was doing in the company, leading to him leaving, and there was also the scandal or whatever. I don't remember the details, but I've been watching through some 2015 New Japan, and I have to say he's impressing me a lot more than I thought he ever would. And it reminds me, David, of that great moment we had on the show where you were forcing me at gunpoint to say who I thought was better, Elgin or Sanada, which was one of my personal highlights of this show.
Say the words,
You
Joel.
know it's true.
That was a good moment. Look, I liked Michael Elgin's run. I really did. I thought in ring he was really good. Matches with Omega, matches with Naito, matches with Ishii. I thought it was good. They gave him the fucking Intercontinental title. I mean, I don't think that was by accident. I think it's amazing. It's pretty amazing how he fell from grace pretty quickly within the company, and I think that's over and above the stuff that happened here in the States. But I like this run in New Japan, Joel. I really do, and I know people don't like him personally. I thought in ring he was solid, and at moments he had some really fucking great matches.
Yeah, the Naito match, New Beginning 2017, I want to say, that was outstanding. I think he's a guy who peaked really high. And I enjoyed having him in the G1. I enjoyed his style of matches, very sort of beefy, hard-hitting, big power moves. Just that's the kind of style that resonates with me. So I thought he was really good. I thought it was a shame that he left. So those are my thoughts on it. Loose Explosion Fart Cloud says, Damon, do you think Mike Awesome might be one of the most underrated big guys of all time? I'll concede there are some things that were missing from his work, but I think if he wouldn't have gotten more run in Japan post WWE, I think he would have gone down as a certified Gaijin legend. What say you?
Yeah, I remember seeing him live a few times at ECW shows. Yeah, he was really good. He was good in the sense of, Joe, this guy was a monster, and he's doing, dives to the floor, crazy high spots shit. Being a monster. He had matches with was it Masato Tanaka in ECW that were fucking brutal. I mean, listen, people squint and talk about those chair shots now to the head. Whew. That's all they were. They were matches that would just consisted of these two guys pounding the fuck out of each other with chairs to the head. Brutal chair shots. Whew. Those matches were ridiculous. He might be one of those guys that fell under the radar. I'm surprised he wasn't picked up by any. I know correct me if I'm wrong, he may have done some WCW stuff, if I'm not mistaken, right? I know I'm almost certain he didn't have a WWF run. But yeah, he seemed like one of those guys that fell under the radar, and probably made his biggest name in ECW, the stuff that he did, and the FMW. I liked him a lot, though. I thought he was good.
I can't remember if I read this last week. Shingo Star says, most likely to accidentally kill themselves during lockdown, Will or Kota. I tell you, have you seen the size of Ospreay? He's going to be super heavyweight by the time he comes back.
Yeah, he's doing the opposite of what I'm doing. He's getting fit. I'm not. I don't want to. I get the joke, but I see Kota jumping around, right? I saw a couple things where he's moonsaulting cameras and crotch shots and all kinds of shit. Look, they're bored. They're young. Look, let's be truthful. Imagine if you're a single young lady or a single guy, 20s, and now you're kind of, for months, you can't, you're not swiping right anymore or left or whatever you swipe, right? These guys got a lot of, and people have a lot of pent up frustrations going on right now. They're at their peak. They got to release this stuff. They're doing videos on TikTok and all this shit. These people got to fuck, Joel. We got to end this quick. We got a problem. I'm telling you what, it's going to be. There's two schools of thought. Either people are going to be very cautious about going places, or it's going to be Roman orgies in the street. I'm hoping for the Roman orgies in the street. I could use to see a boob or two.
All right, some Twitter questions then. Shooting the Breeze at Breeze_shooting says, question for Joel: how do you feel about the footy season ending behind closed doors? Did you eat all your crisps and Kit Kats? Did you get some Jaffa cakes from Marks and Spencer's? Yes, I got Jaffa cakes. Those crisps lasted about 3 days. They were very small bags, which I love, because I could kind of do portion control. I'm just going to have a small bag and then I'll save the rest for later. But of course, that just means I end up eating like 4 of those in one sitting. But as far as the football season goes, if you're doing it behind closed doors and you're doing it with all these caveats and restrictions, then it ceases to be the Premier League. So if they do this finish to the season, then it's not the Premier League anymore, and it's always going to have an asterisk next to it. And I just think it's fundamentally unfair on the clubs that will end up getting relegated, that didn't get to play all their home games that they would have done normally, or it's never going to work out fairly for all 20 teams involved. So I just think it's stupid. I think just call the whole thing off. If Liverpool fans are going to get upset, give them the trophy. Just say, yeah, you won. Well done. We'll send a giant asterisk to your stadium.
Yeah, has that been sorted out yet? Like
no.
Liverpool, correct me if I'm wrong, haven't really won a ton of championships, right? And they've been waiting a long time for this.
Yeah, they've never won the Premier League, so this is their first Premier League. And just even if you do present it to them, it's not like they can celebrate it properly anytime soon. Right. So it's just a weird situation all round. And I do kind of feel for their fans that they've been waiting this long for it, and now whatever way it goes down, it's going to be tainted. So they're not going to get it in that authentic way of winning it in front of your fans during a football match, or even if it's won by another team, losing or not winning, that you get to celebrate it and get the trophy paraded at your stadium in the next home match. They're not going to be able to get that for now anyway. So it's just, I think the whole season is a write-off. I'm not in favour of ending the season personally. Of ending it behind closed doors. I think they should just cancel it and start again when it's ready to be started.
Yeah, that sucks. Sorry, Liverpool. Sorry. Imagine the Leafs. Oh my God, the Leafs. Well, listen, I do take some comfort in the fact knowing that the Leafs would have been eliminated from the playoffs already. So right now I'm be status quo for me. No big deal.
John says, what are some of your guys' favourite British or Irish comedy shows? I love Graham Linehan stuff like Father Ted, and I think Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is one of the best shows ever. What shall I watch next? Yeah, I love both of those things. The Father Ted episode with Father Stack, I can't remember the name of the episode, but that is one of my favourite comedy episodes of all time. That's genius. I love Dark Place as well. What else do I like? Brass Eye and The Day Today are superb. I like Big Train. I like The Adam and Joe Show when it was on back in the day. This is a really good question. Damien, have you got The Office? I think that's amazing. Have you got any favourite British comedies?
I barely watch American TV, let alone British TV. The Young Ones. That's probably
Young Ones is great. I love it.
Me too. I really love Rick so much. They're only like 9 episodes or some shit like that. But yeah, but no, I don't. I mean, I watched. I'm trying to think of British TV that I've watched. IT Crowd. I watched a lot of the British Office. But that's about it, really. I got to be honest. I'm not really up on TV shows. I couldn't name American TV shows. Be honest with you.
I'm a big fan of all the Alan Partridge stuff as well. I think he's great. I'm just scrolling through my hard disk drive here. Extras is good. Summer Heights High is not British, but I thought that was really funny. Although I think the guy who did it has been cancelled, so maybe I should rescind that praise. Look Around You, that's great. It's like kind of spoofs of 80s educational science videos that you watch when you're in school. Nathan Barley.
How about later with Jules Holland?
Never watched it. No.
You never watched it? Oh.
No, not a fan.
You know the concept of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Oh, Stuart Lee. Anything Stuart Lee is great. And that's it. Those are all my recommendations. So lots of recommendations for you there, but definitely one of my favourite topics, British comedy. Next question then. Big
Last
T
question,
says,
all right.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say last question? I think I lost you there for a second.
Did you? No, did you say last question?
I said next question.
How about last question?
Last question. Big T says, do you guys ever get wrestling burnout? And if so, how do you manage it long term? Might sound blasphemous, but I've been burned out since G1 last year, trying to really get passionate about NJPW since. Well, that's why I was kind of trying to see the positive side of having this pause in the schedule, because it is hard to keep up with everything, and I found this opportunity a nice chance to take a breather, catch up on stuff I've missed, and then build up that appetite. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. But I mean, if you're burnt out, stop watching it. Why would you force yourself to do something you're not enjoying?
I know, but it feels like people have this obligation, right? They've committed to this cause, so they have to. They feel like they have to. Yes, I absolutely get burnt out. And it's usually right after the Dome, because I'm just, you usually see a lot of wrestling at one time. You're exhausted, and you kind of get your fill. I think everybody does. I think everybody gets that way. But I think Joel is spot on in the sense that I want something I know that I can't have. So let me go back. At first, it was a comfort thing of I'll watch, fucking wrestling challenge episodes, like old WWF shit, just to get the comfort. Just to feel the nostalgia and feel the warm blanket. But then that grows, and then you see shit and you're like, oh, that was pretty fucking cool. What else is there? And it grows again. Look, pro wrestling will always be in your heart, right? If you're a fan of pro wrestling, it's always going to be in your heart. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the center of your life 24/7. You can go explore other things. You're in an open relationship, right? You're in an open relationship. You can go out, see other people, fuck around with that. But always know pro wrestling will be there when you get back. And then you get back in, and then you get deeper, deeper, and deeper. So take your time with it. Don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up over that. But step away. Yeah, go see other things. Do other things. Come back. Because it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be good. There's always good stuff to find. I get really not depressed, but I get kind of when people are like, "Oh, there's nothing, there's no good wrestling anymore." Well, there is. Find it. You might have to take a little effort, and if not, go back to what you fucking like. Watch what you like. But you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. All right, I gotta get to work. So, what do you say we wrap it up in a nice little bow, Joel?
Let's do it. redcircle.com/shows/super-day-cast if you want to throw some money our way to show your appreciation for us churning out the content during these dark days when you've got nothing else to listen to. And you can also join our Discord, and the link to that's in the show notes. prowrestlingtees.com/superjcast to get one of our t-shirts. Thanks to editor Dan. Visit his YouTube channel and find him on Twitter at LousyHero219. Subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can hear me join in Wrestling Omakase sometime in the next couple of weeks. Look forward to that. Subscribe. I said that already. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at SuperJcast. Thank you everyone for listening, and goodbye.